Is this thing on? It is. All right, welcome back to the Bandwagon Sports Show. I'm your host, DaRock, and we once again had another great Tuesday night of college hoops. Hopefully you guys joined in along with me watching it on my Twitch stream, as we had some really good games. So we're going to start off by getting into those games, recapping the big results from tonight. Then we're going to get into Joe Lunardi's Bracketology. That's right, we're starting to get into bracket season, mid-January now here already. Tournament, we're going to have a bracket in it was 9 weeks from Sunday. So we're getting here close, just a little over 2 months from Selection Sunday. And then just kind of talking about some more games from Wednesday, previewing those, with some Bracketology implications, as well as some games to watch on Thursday. So if you're into college basketball content like this, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to have it going, all the way through the tournament. And then comment, down below your reactions to Tuesday's games and what games you're going to be watching on Wednesday. All right, let's get into it. So starting here with Wednesday's results, the most notable one for me, the Missouri Tigers go into Gainesville, take down Florida 83-82. While it was close in the end, Florida made a run, outscoring Missouri 48-33 in the second half. Mizzou led by as much as 19 in this game. The leading scorer for them was Mark Mitchell with 15 points. Anthony Robinson the second had 12, and then Tamar Bates with 10. Really the big difference in this game, Missouri shot the ball well, 44% from the field, 37% from three, where Florida, they shot 48% from the field, so a little bit higher, but only 36 from three. Also did turn the ball over more. Florida was led by 28 points from Waller Clayton Jr. I'm telling you, man, this guy, a lot of fun to watch. He's very quickly becoming one of my favorite players to watch in college basketball. He's really good at just filling the buckets and score the ball in all sorts of fashion. So a lot of shots from him, too. Took 19 shots. He likes to shoot DaRock. So I like guys like that. So very, very big road win for Missouri. It was a game I didn't really talk about too much in the preview just because I thought, Florida was going to roll in this one. But Mizzou proved me wrong. They knock off the Gators. Then some other SEC games. Another big road upset was Ole Miss knocking off Alabama. They won by a score of 74-64. They were led by Malik Dia with 23 points for him, as well as Sean Padula with 12, and Matthew Murrell with 11 points. The big difference this game was Ole Miss forced turnovers. They played really good defense. Alabama turned the ball over 21 times, whereas Ole Miss only turned it over 7. So that's a big difference in the game, and especially, 10-point game here. Alabama did lead at halftime, but Ole Miss turned it on in the second half, especially defensively, and then, filled the bucket as well, 42 points in the second half. Crimson Tide were led by 11 points from Mark Sears, but he shot 2 of 8 on the game, so not a good shooting game for him, and he was the only starter in double digits. Other than that, it was Aiden Holloway coming off the bench. He had 29 minutes, so played a lot, had 15 points, but not enough for the Crimson Tide. And once again, second week in a row, I thought Ole Miss going on the road, I was like, I'm picking against them. I think the home team takes it, but I was mistaken. I shouldn't have picked against the Running Rebels. They're slowly making their way up here as one of these top teams in the SEC. Other SEC scores: Kentucky take care of Texas A&M at home. 22 points from Jackson Robinson led the way for the Wildcats. And then Zurich Phelps once again led the way for the Aggies with 21. Until Wade Taylor gets back, it's going to be hard for Texas A&M to win games like this, especially on the road. So Kentucky wins, just like I thought they would. And then Arkansas, they fall to 0-4 in conference play. LSU picks up their first conference win with a 78-74 win over the Razorbacks. Carter led the way for the Tigers with 27 points. Adu Thyro is the leader for Arkansas with 13. And I think Arkansas fans, it's obviously the seed is not getting hot for Coach Cal, but not the start they expected to be 0-4 conference play. And then the final really SEC result, number 1 Auburn, they roll. No Janai Broom, no problem. 88-66 win over Mississippi State. Chaney Johnson was the leader for the Tigers with 17 points. Then moving on to what we almost had another upset, this time by way of the Big East. The Marquette Golden Eagles, the 7th-ranked team in the country, they pull out a 2-point win in overtime on the road against DePaul, 85-83. They were showing on the broadcast, DePaul hasn't won a conference game in nearly 2 years. Granted, I have hyped up Blue Demons. They are definitely a better team this year than they have been in years past. But still looking for that first conference win. They're now 0-7. But they battled hard. I mean, they almost pulled this one off. It really looks like they're going to. But Chase Ross had a clutch 3 late to give Marquette the lead. He ended up finishing with 15 on the game. David Joplin hit some big shots in overtime. He had 30 points. He was the most notable player for the Golden Eagles. And then 18 from Cam Jones, once again proving why he's going to be, one of the best players in the nation. Granted, did take a lot of shots, 8-21, and only 1 of 10 from 3. So not his best game. I think if he shoots a little bit better, Marquette rolls in this one. But was not the case. On the DePaul side, they're led by 21 points from C.J. Gunn. And then Connor Enright had 11. He was, kind of their main ball handler, was doing a lot of the scoring for them. And he had a layup to tie the game, force overtime, but just wasn't enough. DePaul not able to pull it out. So big win for Marquette. Would have been a really bad loss. So good thing they were able to pull it out. Other Big East results. Xavier, they knock off Villanova 69-63, home win just like I predicted. And it was Ryan Conwell who had a huge game, 34 points, 16 of them in the final 5 minutes to pull away, win the game. Villanova led this game by 8 at half, up 32-24, but 45 points from the Musketeers in the second half ended up going a long way and getting Xavier the victory and severely hurting Villanova's chances of getting an at-large bid to the tournament. We had another good one in the Garden as St. John's, they took down Georgetown by a final score of 63-58. Georgetown, once again, playing these top teams in the Big East competitively, playing them close, but just not able to get over the hump. They led by 10 at the half too, but St. John's with a 36-21 lead outscoring Georgetown in the second half. Behind R.J. Luis Jr., once again, big game for him, 19 points. Aaron Scott was the Red Storm second leading scorer with 14. And then Kadari Richmond and Zubi Elifo both found themselves in double digits as well with 10 points respectively. On the Georgetown side, it was Micah Peavy with the big game, 21 points for him. Grant did take 20 shots, so he was the main scorer for them, taking most shots offensively. And then Malik Mack also had 13 points, so good game for him. And like I said, once again, Georgetown battling these top teams in the Big East, but just not able to get over the hump. And then Creighton, final Big East result, they win 84-64. Ryan Kalkbrenner, really good game for him, 20 points, 10 rebounds. Providence said no answer for him. Stephen Ashworth, also a really good game. So the Blue Jays on the bubble needed a win like that, and they got it. Then moving on to the Big Ten, we had a close one between Wisconsin and Ohio State. Wisconsin led 37-20 at half, but Ohio State came back in the second half, but the Badgers end up winning the game 70-68. John Tanji scored 17 points for Wisconsin in the win. Bruce Thornton was leader for the Buckeyes. He was the one hitting big shots, forcing this comeback here in the second half. But it just fell just short. His 21 points were not enough, including he went 6-6 at the line. So, went perfect in the line against the free throw merchants. Wisconsin draws a lot of fouls. We had a lot of fouls here down the stretch too. Just because, it was a 3-point game. Wisconsin didn't want Ohio State to get up a 3. Obviously, it's a smart thing to do, but I don't know if it's the most competitive. I didn't really love watching that. So like I mentioned, Tanji had 17, and then John Blackwell 15 and 14 from Stephen Krall as well to lead the Badgers in that one. Other Big Ten results, Indiana, they got absolutely boat raced in their own gym, 94-69 by Illinois. Killian Boswell was the leader with 22 points, and then Kasparis Giacchionis, he was back in the lineup, scored 21 as well for the Fighting Illini. There's a chance of firing Mike Woodson. I got to think he's gone after this season for Indiana just because this season has not gone well at all. And then Desmond Claude with another big game for USC, scoring 25 points in the Trojans' 99-81 or 89 win against Iowa. Like I mentioned, it's going to be interesting to see how some of these teams going out west, how they fare. Did not fare well for the Hawkeyes today, and I think that's going to probably hurt their chances here on the bubble of making the NCAA tournament. And then to close out, recap the night in the Big 12, we had some good games. Arizona, they took care of business at home against Baylor. They're up 42-19 in the half, end up winning 81-70. Henry Visar was the leader for them with 19 points, and just Baylor, they did not come ready to play. Got beat out of the gym pretty early. Was able to kind of make it kind of competitive in the second half, but not really. They did cut it to single digits at one point, but Arizona just dominated that one. And then Texas Tech with a good road win. It was close. It was scary. Loss they couldn't afford to have, but they pick it up, a 61-57 win over Kansas State, led by Elijah Hawkins with 14 points and 9 assists. So big win there for Texas Tech. All right, so now moving on, let's take a look at Joe Lunardi's bracketology that he dropped on Tuesday. So I'm going to do that now going forward here in these Wednesday videos reacting to his bracket. However, I know there's a couple bracketologists that follow me on Twitter that I follow as well. If any of you would be interested in me using your work instead of Joe Lunardi's in this video, let me know. I'd love to do it. Love to kind of bring more attention to you guys. I know I don't have the biggest following, but I think it would be cool to spotlight some of that. So his last 4 byes, he has Nebraska, St. Mary's, Ohio State, and Missouri. Missouri, I got to think, moves up out of that with that big win tonight. Ohio State, we'll see. They might drop following their loss. Wisconsin, St. Mary's, they don't play during the week this week. And then Nebraska, they're hosting Rutgers on Thursday, a game we'll get to here in a sec. Then the last 4 in, we have New Mexico, who lost tonight. Iowa, who also lost tonight. Dayton, who plays here on Wednesday. We're going to talk about their game in a sec. And then Creighton, who, like I mentioned, had that big win over Providence. So got to think they move up, especially over New Mexico and Iowa, who suffered losses. Then first 4 out, Arkansas, Arizona State, and Indiana also all lost tonight. Got to think they probably bumped down. And then Vanderbilt hosts South Carolina here on Wednesday. And then the next 4 out, Texas, they have a big game against Oklahoma we'll get to here in a sec. Cincinnati goes on the road to Colorado. SMU, we're going to talk about their game against Virginia. And then Villanova, who, like I mentioned, tough loss to them tonight against Xavier. So got to think, they're probably dropping out. Looking here now, kind of going to the next part of the bracket. So the South region, we'll go region by region. He has Auburn as the 1 seed, Purdue is the 4, Kansas is the 2, and then Texas A&M is the 3. So we'll see. Kansas big game against Iowa State. Talked about that in yesterday's video. Texas A&M, see if they maybe fall down with the loss. Got to think, he has Baylor rising in this one. Sorry, moving around, jumping around a little bit here. With their loss, they got to probably fall. Then look at the East. Duke is the 1, Tennessee's the 2, Houston the 3, Michigan the 4. Duke, good win against Miami tonight. Tennessee, they play Georgia on Wednesday. So who's actually in that region, the 7 seed. Houston's the 3, they play West Virginia on Wednesday. Talked about that one a little bit yesterday. And then Michigan the 4, they go to Minnesota on Thursday. So if they can survive that game, they should be fine. Then in the West, we have Iowa State as the 1, big game against Kansas on Wednesday night. Florida is the 2. However, they'll probably fall after their loss. Oregon the 3, and then Mississippi State the 4. Got to think Mississippi State's probably trending down after losing tonight. Illinois, he has trending out the 5, but they bounce back for win against Indiana, so maybe they jump back up. Utah State trending up at the 6. They have a good game. They have a big game here on Wednesday against UNLV that we'll talk about going on the road. So yeah, that's going. And then Arizona's trending up as a 7. Got to think they're going to keep trending up after that win. Then the final region, the Midwest. Alabama is the 1, Marquette the 2, Kentucky the 3, and Michigan State the 4. So Michigan State playing Penn State tonight. Talked about that yesterday. If they win, should be fine. Alabama loss, that might drop them off the 1 line. Actually, I would not be surprised about that. Marquette the 2. We'll see if they drop. After playing a close game. However, they did end up winning. And then Kentucky a 3 win, so they should be chilling. Maybe move up. And then, I just mentioned Michigan State. So Memphis plays Temple on Thursday. If they can win, maybe as a 5 seed, maybe that'll move them up. Wisconsin, good win tonight, 6 seed in that region. So that's what's going on in Joe Lunardi's bracketology. So make sure to drop your thoughts on that. How you kind of think teams might move. And what matchups, I'm not going to read through all these, but what matchups kind of intrigue you. Then our other power conference bubble game, a big one, Texas, another team on the outside looking in. They head on the road, take on their rivals, the Oklahoma Sooners, who were 13-0 heading into conference play, but now 0-3. Both these teams 0-3 in the SEC in their first year in the SEC, looking for their first ever SEC win. And it's going to come against, their former Big 12 rival. These 2 teams joined the conference together. So this one, 10 Eastern time on the SEC Network. Shout out SEC Network, man. Really good triple header for them tomorrow. It's that South Carolina Vanderbilt starts it off. Then, Tennessee Georgia game I touched on yesterday should be pretty good. And then we finish up with this one. So Texas, they're led by Trey Johnson, who's scoring 19 points per game. And he had 26 in their game against Tennessee over the weekend. Granted, it was a loss, but good effort from him. And then Arthur Kaluma, he's also, plays a big role for this Texas team. He had 34. He was the one almost single-handedly willed them back against Auburn, but wasn't enough. However, against Tennessee, he only had 4 points, so he needs to kind of step up. He's averaging 14 points a game to go with his 8 rebounds, so he can score the ball, obviously, more than he did against Tennessee. He's going to need to have a good game if they're going to win this one. On the Oklahoma side, they're led by Jalen Moore, who's scoring 17 points per game, and then Jeremiah Fears with 16 points per game. So just kind of looking at this, like you can see, both these teams 0-3 in conference. Texas lost to A&M, Auburn, and Tennessee. Oklahoma lost to Alabama, A&M, and Georgia. That A&M game could have gone either way. Derek Phelps hit a game winner in that one. So looking at the projections, both of them have Oklahoma winning by 1 point. So they think it's going to be a close game. I mean, you can look. They both score pretty similar clips, 81 points per game. So I'm gonna side with the experts on this one. I'm gonna go Oklahoma, but definitely think this one will be a close game. Now moving on to some mid-major games with some bubble implications. So Dayton, they're a team, on that last 4 in right now. They host George Mason on a big game in A10 play at 7 Eastern on CBS Network. So George Mason, they're up there competing for first place in A10. They're now tied with St. Louis. After St. Louis lost to VCU today. So George Mason also 3-1 in the A10. So Dayton's leader is Enoch Cheeks. Enoch Cheeks. He scores 12 points per game with 7 rebounds, and their leading scorer and the forward role is Nate Santos, who scores 14 points per game. For George Mason, they're led by Darius Maddox, who's scoring 14 points per game, just about there. And like I mentioned, 3-1 in conference. Their only loss was on not a buzzer beater, but last-second shot by Rhode Island to knock them off. Dayton, on the other hand, is 1-2 in conference. Not a good start for them. Losses in their last 2 at George Washington, at George Mason. Teams that are not going to be competing for the A10. So the Flyers, they need to get it together now. Now is the time. So both projections have Dayton winning by 5 to 8 points. So right around that 7.5. I would just say if you are betting, I would stay away from betting on Dayton. Maybe take George Mason plus the points. But I think Dayton's going to win this one. I think they finally bounce back, coming back here at home. So give me the Flyers. Then our other mid-major game that we're going to feature here on Wednesday, the third and final game of the CBS Sports Network triple header at 11 Eastern. We have the Utah State Aggies heading to the UNLV Rebels. Utah State, they're 6-0, now find themselves as the only undefeated team in the Mountain West in conference play after New Mexico's loss tonight at San Jose State. So, Utah State, they're led by Ian Martinez. He scored 18 points against Boise State, including the game winner, and he's averaging 17 points per game. And then Mason Falsev's not too far behind with 16 points per game and 6 rebounds for him. And, Utah State, they're a good team. Only loss this year has come against UC San Diego, who's a good team in the Big West. Talked about that a little bit over the weekend. So this is a very good squad. But however, now they got to go on the road to UNLV, who's led by Dayton Thomas, who's averaging 16 points per game, and then Jaden Henley with 12 points per game. So the UNLV team, you see they're 9-7, but they have good. They've lost some good teams. They've lost to Dayton, they've lost to Creighton, they've lost to Mississippi State. I want to say they've lost to Butler. Like they've played some good teams. And then you can see, Colorado State, Boise State conference losses. So good teams. They're not to be taken lightly because, both these projections have Utah State winning by 5 points. So covering, it's a close spread. It is tough to go on the road in the Mountain West. But I think they do it. I was saying yesterday I think it's easier for teams to go on the road in the Mountain West. I was proven wrong by San Diego State tonight. They knocked off Colorado State. So I'm going to go with the favorite once again. Give me Utah State to take this one. Then moving on to Thursday's games, just a couple of Big Ten games I want to touch on here quick. First one at 9 Eastern on Fox Sports 1. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights head on the road, take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. These are two teams, Nebraska, they're in the bubble right now. Rutgers are a team, they had tournament aspirations for the season because they're led by Dylan Harper, who's averaging 20 points per game, and then Ace Bailey, who has averaging 19 points per game, 2 of the top 5 recruits in the nation. But Rutgers, they'd lost 3 straight. We're 2-4 in conference, but they bounced back. Good win against UCLA on Monday, which Ace Bailey had 20 points and 10 rebounds in that one. On the Nebraska side, they're led by Bryce Williams. He's averaging nearly 19 points per game. And then guards-wise, who's going to have to go up against Bailey and Harper, it's going to be Connor Essigan. He's averaging 11 points per game. So looking at the projections, this one, both have Nebraska winning by about 6 points. There's no spread out yet for this one since the game is on Thursday. Rutgers wasn't really a team I was super high on until that game against UCLA. I actually picked UCLA to win that one, but West Coast teams heading out east hasn't worked out too well. Nebraska, not great. Loss in overtime against Iowa. That was a game they probably should have won, and then got their break speed off by Purdue. So, this is one I go either way, but I think they bounce back. I'm going to go Nebraska to take it, and also just Rutgers playing on short rest. I haven't played Monday and then Thursday. It's kind of weird how this Big Ten scheduling has worked out. And then the last one that I'm going to feature, the Maryland Terrapins. They head to the Northwestern Wildcats, also at 9 Eastern on Thursday on the Big Ten Network. So, Derek Queen leads Maryland. He's, a very fun player to watch, averaging 16 points per game and 8 rebounds. And then their guard leader is Jacob Gillespie, who's averaging 14 points per game and 4 assists. On the Northwestern side, they're led by Nick Martinelli, who's scoring 20 points per game, really high scorer with 5 rebounds. And then Brooks Barnheiser, their leading guard scorer, he scores 18 points a game and then also has 9 rebounds. So both the big guys, able to rebound the ball. So I was at Northwestern's game over the weekend against Michigan State, and just the thing to me that sticks out, they go on, very, very cold shooting stretches, and that's what, cost them. I'm not even going to say cost them. They were never really in that game. They kind of were able to get streaky and get hot down the stretch, which got them back in the game. But, as you can see, still lost by 10 there. Maryland, on the other hand, 2 straight wins against Minnesota and UCLA. Did strike out in the Pacific Northwest trip, losing to both Oregon and Washington. But, this past week have gotten together. Both projections... Actually, no. One projection has Maryland winning by 7. Another has Northwestern winning this by 1. Usually, I would say going on the road, tough game. But I was at Welsh Run Arena on Sunday, like I said, and it was mainly Michigan State fans. I don't really think in the Big Ten there is like a home court advantage for Michigan or for Northwestern, just because I think all these schools' alumni who are in the Chicago area, they come to that game. Granted, it might not be as the case as much for Maryland, but I don't really think Northwestern has that home court advantage. So I'm going to go with Maryland to take this one. So that's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said at the beginning, make sure to like the video if you are into college basketball content, because there's going to be a lot of it coming here. And if you're still watching this point, you had to have liked the video, haven't you? Subscribe to the channel, because not only, college basketball talk, but I'm going to do my national championship preview on Thursday, as well as previewing the games for this weekend. NFL picture coming back with some divisional and conference championship games. That's all heating up here. So this is honestly a really good time of the year for sports, kind of underrated. NHL, NBA, they're going on. It's what's going on. NFL playoffs, and then we got college basketball all the time. We talk a lot of college basketball. So if you like sports talk, this place to you. Definitely subscribe to the channel. Comment down below your picks for these games, and comment, like I said, a lot of different sports I'm talking about. Comment what you're watching. What games are you into? What do you want to see me cover? What do you want to see me talk about? So appreciate you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace.